So I was life flighted to Children's Hospital of Pittsburgh, but unfortunately my mom wasn't allowed to come on the helicopter with me. And saying goodbye to her was one of the hardest things I ever had to do, because I wasn't sure if I was going to see her again. And I just kept looking her in the eyes and saying, I don't want to die. So en route, on my way to the hospital, my blood pressure started to drop. So they had to give me medicine to make it come back up. And it wasn't looking good when I was in the helicopter. I was very, very sick, and the nurse wasn't sure if I was going to pull through. But they stayed on the phone with my parents while I was en route, and I remember praying 3 times on the helicopter. And I remember just praying, and I had tears in my eyes, and I was crying, and the nurse was right beside me, and she started rubbing my head. And I remember feeling like my mom was there with me, because that's something she would have done. And it just filled me with such peace and comfort. But when I got to the hospital, I had an incredible team of nurses and doctors who took excellent care of me. And they did everything they possibly could to save my life. I was in the ICU for a week. Actually, it's called the PICU. So I was in the PICU for about a week. But on my 15th birthday, I ended up getting pneumonia, and they weren't sure if I was going to pull through. So I spent my 15th birthday fighting for my life. And I fought so hard. I had a horrible fever, and I was just shaking so badly. But I knew that I couldn't give up, because I still had so much to live for. I had to graduate. I had to be there for my parents and my fur babies, who I love dearly, and they are the world to me. And I had to be there for my sister and her family, and I just knew that I had so much more to do on this earth, and my story was not over. I ended up getting out of the PICU, and I was on the regular floor for about 2 weeks. And even though that it was one of the hardest things that ever happened to me, it is such a huge part of my testimony, because prayers were answered, and I am a living, breathing miracle.